more now on Evan Bayh's decision and what it will mean in Washington. We're joined by David Catanese, political reporter at Politico. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
What do you make of this decision?
Well, it's really a stunning decision because if you look at the other two retirements that you cited, Senator Dorgan up in North Dakota and Senator Dodd in Connecticut, those were both situations where they were losing in polling to their prospective Republican opponent. They were down in the polls. If you look at Senator Bayh, he was in better shape and in better political position. A recent poll had him up 20-some points over his Republican challenger, Dan Coats, also a former senator. So I think we have to take Senator Bayh at his word that this did have to do with partisanship, that he did not feel like he could get a lot of things done. And it comes just before President Obama is trying to put together a bipartisan health care summit in Washington. So it's a difficult time for Democrats.
And so how much is this going to affect the balance of power in the Senate and President Obama's agenda as far as getting it passed through Congress?
Well, it certainly doesn't affect the vote count yet. I mean, he will be the senator until next year when there will be a new senator from Indiana, but I think it sends a chill to Democrats who are in other Republican-leaning or red states for their own reelection prospects. We're already looking at Senator Blanche Lincoln in Arkansas or Senator Patty Murray up in Washington, who may look at their own political position and say, is this worth it going through this tough reelection cycle and going up against what are going to be a lot of attacks and a lot of voter angst? That's what Senator Bayh signaled today. If he can't hang in there, will others follow?
Senator Bayh was considered a possible vice presidential candidate last time around and had so much promise, as according to Democrats. And were you shocked by this decision, or is this going to be par for the course when it comes to a lot of Democrats come 2010 re-elections?
You know, I was very surprised, and I think Washington was very surprised by this decision because, again, as you mentioned, he had been a potential vice presidential candidate. This is something that was in the Bayh's family. I mean, the politics was in the genes almost. His father was a longtime politician in the state of Indiana. So it did come as a huge surprise, but it just shows how tough of an environment it is right now. That a senator like this, in a state where many people thought he'd be reelected easy, is going to step aside and say, you know what, to heck with this. I'm not going to put my family through it. I don't want to go through what could be a tough campaign. I'm going to step aside and let you guys figure it out. And he basically is walking away from the fight. And I'm sure a lot of Democrats are grumbling about it tonight because this is a state, Indiana, that they're now going to have to put more time and resources in.
Any idea at this point what's next for him?
You know, we don't know what's next, but one Democratic strategist did say, he observed that he didn't see this as a retirement speech as much as a speech bashing and distancing himself from Congress, because he left open talking about public service in the future. He didn't rule out a future run, but he did say he does not love Congress. So I don't think we will see Evan Bayh campaigning for a Senate or House seat, but there is a governor's race in Indiana in 2 years. And, of course, there's always the opportunity for a presidential run, which we know he's considered before.
All right. Dave Catanese from Politico. David, thank you so much for joining us.
Sure. Thank you.